The vanishing fleet, the stars above the Imperial Command Center, always seemed so peaceful. General Mark stood by the giant window, staring into the endless darkness. His mind, however, was anything but calm. Reports had come in just hours ago. An entire armada, nearly 50 ships strong, had vanished without a trace on the outer edge of the Empire's territory. No distress calls. No signals. Nothing but silence. Mark turned as Commander Lee entered the room. She held a tablet, her face tense. "Still nothing from Fleet 7? Mark asked quietly. Lee shook her head. "Not a word, sir. It's like they were erased." The news spread quickly through the Empire's central base. Engineers whispered about ghosts in the void. Scientists argued over possible black holes or sudden space storms. But nothing explained the sudden disappearance of so many powerful ships. Meanwhile, in a distant mining colony, a group of workers gathered around a small, flickering screen. The news anchor's voice was shaky as she read the breaking update. The Empire's 7th Fleet is missing. The last signal placed them near the edge of uncharted space. Authorities urge everyone to remain calm. Panic, however, grew in every corner of the Empire. Families worried about loved ones who served in the Navy. Merchants delayed their journeys, afraid of what might lurk out there. Even criminals in the shadows kept their heads down, unwilling to test the unknown. At the command center, Mark called an emergency meeting. Scientists, military officers, and politicians filled the hall. Tension was thick. Some argued for sending another fleet to investigate. Others warned against risking more lives. The Emperor's image flickered on a large screen, voice sharp. "Find out what happened. The Empire cannot show weakness." One young technician, Alan, quietly raised his hand. "We caught a strange signal before the fleet vanished," he said, voice uncertain. "It wasn't like anything we've seen. It wasn't from any known ship, almost alive." The room fell silent. The Emperor spoke again, eyes cold. "Send a team, small but skilled. Find this unknown. Bring back answers, at any cost." Far away, in the darkness where the fleet disappeared, strange lights flickered. Something moved in the emptiness, a shape that did not match any ship, alien or human. Its presence sent a chill across the stars. And so, with the fate of an entire fleet unknown and a new fear spreading, humanity prepared for its most dangerous search yet. But in the void, something watched and waited. Into the unknown. Alan couldn't sleep. His mind replayed the strange signal again and again, the way it hummed with something that felt almost alive. Early the next morning, he joined the others chosen for the search team. There were 6 of them: Mark, the experienced general; Lee, the calm commander; Alan, the nervous technician; Ryan, a tough pilot; Maya, a science officer; and Ben, a skilled engineer. Their ship, the Pathfinder, was small but strong, built for both speed and stealth. The Emperor watched their departure from the command center. His order was clear: return with answers, or not at all. As the Pathfinder launched into the blackness, tension filled the air. Ryan joked quietly to lighten the mood. "Just another routine mission, right?" No one laughed. Mark checked their course straight into the last known location of the missing fleet. Hours passed in silence. Then Maya picked up something strange on her screen. "I'm seeing lights ahead, but they don't look natural." Everyone leaned closer to the glass as distant glows flickered in the darkness. They weren't the steady lights of ships. They moved, swirling, pulsing alive, almost curious. Ben frowned. "No signals, no codes. It's like nothing we've ever seen." Suddenly, alarms blared. The lights rushed towards them, too fast for normal engines. Alan scrambled at his controls, trying to boost their shields. "It's not attacking, just scanning us," he shouted. The ship shook as invisible energy waves passed through it. The crew's hair stood on end. As if electricity danced in the air. Mark gave the order. Don't fire. We don't want to start a war. The lights pulled back, then vanished. Silence returned. Alan's hands shook as he ran a scan. Whatever it was, it read every part of our ship. It even tried to copy some data. Commander Lee stared into the dark. Did the lost fleet meet this thing? Maya nodded, her voice low. If they did, they never came back. The team debated turning back, but Mark refused. We go forward. The Empire needs answers, and we owe it to the missing. The Pathfinder pushed deeper into uncharted space. The stars grew fewer. The silence became heavier. The crew felt like they were being watched, even when the screens showed nothing. Then, out of nowhere, a piece of wreckage drifted by part of a ship, scorched and twisted. Ben used the grappler to bring it aboard. The metal was burned, but not by any weapon they knew. Alan found something else, a strange residue glowing faintly, not of any element in the Empire's database. Maya took a sample, her hands shaking. Whatever did this, it's not from any world we know, she whispered. The crew stared at the piece of the lost fleet, fear growing in their hearts. Ahead, the darkness waited, holding its secrets, but the unknown was watching, and maybe it was waiting for them. Two shadows in the dark. The crew gathered around the piece of wreckage they brought aboard. Maya placed the glowing residue under her scanner. The readings made no sense. Energy levels so high, it shouldn't even exist in this part of the galaxy. Alan checked his computer. This thing is changing. It's reacting to us, he said, voice shaking. Ben touched the hull and cold. His hand back in pain. It's warm. How can it be warm in the cold of space? Mark frowned. Whatever happened to the fleet, it left behind more than just broken ships. Commander Lee checked the navigation system. We're close to where the last signal was sent. Should we continue? The team exchanged worried glances. But turning back now would mean leaving the mystery unsolved and leaving the lost fleets. Fate unknown. Mark made the decision. We keep going. Stay sharp. The Pathfinder slipped deeper into uncharted space. Every light inside the ship seemed smaller against the darkness outside. Alan's scanners picked up faint movements on the edge of the sensors, always just out of sight. Suddenly, Ryan's voice crackled over the intercom from the cockpit. Guys, you need to see this. Everyone hurried forward. Out the window. Shapes moved in the dark, huge, drifting forms. At first, they thought it was more wreckage. Then, the shapes shifted, rearranging themselves as if they were alive. Lights pulsed from inside, like a heartbeat. Maya gasped. Those aren't ships. They're something else. The team watched in silence as the entities floated closer. Ben started recording. Lee whispered, if they wanted to destroy us, they would have by now. Alan, ever the technician, reached for the communication controls. Maybe they're trying to talk. Maybe they don't know how. He sent out a basic greeting signal, just patterns of light and sound, something any intelligent being might recognize. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then one of the giant shapes glowed brighter. A pattern of lights rippled across its surface, almost like an answer. Ryan's hands hovered over the controls. Should we run? Mark shook his head. No sudden moves. The shapes floated closer, surrounding the ship. The hull vibrated as the strange energy passed through them again. Alan's screen filled with symbols, lines and dots flashing rapidly. It's a message, he cried, but I can't understand it. Maya watched the lights and listened to the hum. She turned to Mark, her eyes wide. I think it's trying to learn. It's watching us, copying us. It wants to know who we are. As the shapes drew even closer, the crew realized they were not alone in the darkness. Something ancient and powerful was here, curious, but also dangerous. For the first time, the team felt both hope and fear. The unknown wasn't just a destroyer, it was a watcher, maybe even a seeker. But then, the lights flickered red. The ship shook violently. The peaceful moment shattered. Ryan shouted, "Something's wrong. Shields are failing." The team braced themselves, knowing the next few moments could decide their fate. The darkness outside was no longer empty. First contact crisis, the ship trembled as the strange energy washed over it. Warning lights flashed all over the control panels. Alan frantically tried to stabilize the systems, but the controls barely responded. Sparks flew from the main console. Ben grabbed a fire extinguisher, putting out the small fires before they spread. Mark kept his voice steady, but everyone could hear the tension. "Stay calm. Maya, what's happening?" Maya's scanner showed wild, shifting patterns. "The entities are sending out more energy. It's like they're searching us deeper than before. Not just the ship us." Commander Lee's hands moved quickly across the navigation panel. "If they keep going, they could kill us by accident." The largest entity pressed closer. Its lights changed, forming pattern symbols that almost looked like human writing, but twisted and wrong. Suddenly, the whole crew felt something strange in their heads. Not a voice, but a sense, an emotion like curiosity, hunger and confusion mixed together. Alan gasped. I think it's trying to read our minds." Everyone felt a sharp pain behind their eyes. For a moment, memories flashed in their minds, old fears, hidden dreams, and faces from the past. Then it was gone. Maya struggled to her feet. "It's learning too fast. We can't handle this much longer." Mark made a decision. "Alan, cut all outside communications." Now, Alan hit the emergency button, severing the ship's link to the outside. The humming stopped. The lights on the entities dimmed, and they drifted away, as if puzzled. Ryan slumped in his chair, breathing hard. That was too close. For a minute, no one spoke. The Pathfinder floated in silence, surrounded by the unknown. Ben checked the screens. Systems are coming back online. But we've lost a lot of power. We can't stay here much longer. Maya watched the entities from the window. They don't understand us, but they're trying. Maybe that's why the fleet was destroyed. They tried to talk, and it went wrong. Commander Lee nodded. They're not evil, just too different. Mark faced the crew. We need to find a way to communicate without risking our minds. We can't leave until we know what happened to the others. And we need to make sure the Empire doesn't make the same mistake. Alan's hands shook, but he managed a small smile. If they're trying to learn, maybe we can teach them. Outside, the entities hovered in the darkness, watching, waiting. Inside, the crew started working together. Ben and Maya built a simple device that sent basic signals, patterns of light, easy for any being to recognize. Alan coded a short message. We come in peace. We want to understand. They sent it out, pulse by pulse, into the darkness. The entities responded, their lights shifting to match the patterns. Hope returned to the crew. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward, a way to survive. But the question remained, what happened to the missing fleet? And would the same fate come for the Pathfinder? The unknown watched, silent and mysterious, as the humans made their first real contact. The fate of the lost fleet, the device Ben and Maya built, kept pulsing out messages, each pattern of light more complex than the last. The unknown entities hovered nearby, watching the Pathfinder, their lights now calm and soft. Slowly, the symbols and pulses began to line up. A shared language was starting to form. Alan sat hunched over his computer, eyes red from exhaustion but full of determination. I think they're answering questions, he said, voice shaky but hopeful. Look at this. When I ask, where are the others? They repeat a different pattern. Ryan, watching the windows, pointed. They're moving. Maybe they want us to follow? Mark gave the order. Keep shields up, but let's see where they lead. The Pathfinder drifted slowly behind the largest entity. It moved deeper into the void, far from any star. The silence was heavy. Then, in the darkness, Lights appeared dim, scattered but unmistakable. Wreckage, dozens of Imperial ships, floating in silence. The crew stared in shock. Maya whispered, "That's the 7th Fleet, all of it." But there was something strange. The ships were damaged, yes, but not destroyed. Some still had power, lights flickering weakly. Alan scanned for life signs, his breath caught. There are survivors. Not many, but they're alive. Ben and Ryan prepared rescue gear while Maya sent out a signal one the entities had shown her, a signal that meant help. The nearest entity responded by guiding the Pathfinder closer to a drifting cruiser. Mark and Lee led the team through the docking bay. Inside, the survivors were weak, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. One officer, pale and trembling, managed to speak. "We tried to communicate. Something went wrong. Some kind of feedback. Minds overloaded. Most didn't survive." Alan realized what happened. The first contact, too much information, too quickly. They didn't mean to harm you. They just didn't understand how fragile we are. Back on the Pathfinder, Maya sent a message to the entities, using their new language. "Careful, we are weak." The lights from the entities pulsed softly, almost sad. They drifted away, keeping their distance this time. As the rescue continued, Alan looked at his tired, relieved crew. "We're not alone out here. But we have to be careful. Curiosity can destroy, if you don't know how to handle it." Mark nodded. "Let's finish saving who we can. And then, we'll teach the Empire what we learned." The void was still. Dangerous, but now there was a glimmer of understanding between human and unknown. The Pathfinder turned, ready to return home, but the adventure was not over yet. Lessons from the void with survivors rescued and brought aboard. The Pathfinder's crew moved quickly to help them recover. Maya checked their vital signs, while Ben and Alan made beds and handed out water. Commander Lee kept a careful eye on the monitors, worried that the entities might change their behavior again. Mark spoke gently to the rescued officer. "Can you tell us exactly what happened?" The officer nodded, voice weak but steady. "We saw the same lights you did. We tried to communicate using our strongest signals. At first, nothing. Then, it was like a flood of images, sounds, memories. Too much for any of us to handle, most of my crew. Their minds couldn't take it." Alan listened carefully. He understood now. The unknown wasn't evil or cruel, just so different that even its curiosity could destroy. "We've learned a way to talk to them, but only with small, simple messages," Alan said. "No strong signals, no sudden jumps." The officer looked at the glowing lights outside the window. "They're waiting. They're watching us." Maya sent another gentle signal, this time just a simple greeting. The closest entity responded with a soft pulse. It felt less threatening, almost friendly. Ryan sat in the pilot's seat, hands steady on the controls. "Ready to leave whenever you are, General." But Mark shook his head. "Not yet. We need to do more than just survive. We need to make sure no one else makes the same mistake." Ben and Alan worked together, creating a full record of the events. What the crew saw, how the first contact happened, what went wrong, and how they learned to communicate slowly and carefully. Maya compiled a list of safe signal patterns, gentle, easy messages that both sides could use without harm. She shared them with the officer, who nodded gratefully. Commander Lee prepared a message for the Empire. "We have survivors. We have answers. Do not use high-strength signals in the void. Approach with care." Mark gathered everyone in the Pathfinder's main room. "We're going home. But remember, this isn't over. We're not alone out here. And next time, it might be us that makes a mistake." As the Pathfinder prepared to leave, Alan sent one last message to the entities. "Thank you for your patience. We will return." The lights of the unknown pulsed softly, almost a farewell. The Pathfinder turned, engines roaring to life, and began the long journey back to Imperial space. Behind them, the void was still dark and mysterious, but now it was a little less frightening. The crew felt changed. They had looked into the unknown and survived. But the greatest lesson was clear. Curiosity could be deadly, but it could also be the beginning of understanding. And somewhere in the dark, the unknown watched. And learned as well. A new beginning, the Pathfinder slipped back into Imperial space, carrying survivors, knowledge, and a message of hope. The crew was exhausted but relieved. As soon as they neared the home base, signals flooded in. The Emperor himself wanted a full report. Mark stood tall as he entered the command center, flanked by Lee, Alan, Maya, Ben, and Ryan. They explained everything: the vanished fleet, the powerful entities, the first contact disaster, and the lessons learned in the void. The Emperor listened in silence. For a long moment, the room was tense. Then, finally he spoke. "You faced the greatest fear of the galaxy, the unknown. And you survived by thinking, not fighting." Alan shared the new language patterns. Maya handed over the safe communication. "List, the void isn't empty," she said softly. "It's full of life, but it's nothing like us." The rescued officer told his story, warning the Empire to be gentle and patient when meeting things beyond understanding. "We nearly lost everything to curiosity and fear," he finished, voice shaking. "Let's not make that mistake again." News spread quickly across the Empire. People who had been afraid began to see hope in the unknown. Scientists studied the data, eager to learn more. Military leaders rewrote their orders. All first contact teams must use gentle signals and proceed with caution in uncharted space. Ben, Ryan, and Lee returned to the Pathfinder, preparing it for repairs. Maya kept working with scientists to better understand the energy residue and the mysterious entities' patterns. Alan became known for his courage and clever thinking. He spent days decoding messages, dreaming of future peaceful meetings with the unknown. Mark received new orders: train a team of explorers, not just soldiers, but diplomats, scientists, and engineers. The Empire wanted to reach out, not conquer. Survivors from the lost fleet slowly recovered. Their story became a lesson for all. The galaxy's greatest fear wasn't a monster or an enemy, it was misunderstanding. One night, Alan looked up at the stars, thinking of the entities still out there. He sent one simple message: "We remember you, we will return." Far in the dark, a pulse of light answered, a promise that both sides were willing to try again. And so, with courage and careful hope, humanity stepped forward into the unknown. The greatest danger became the greatest opportunity, and the galaxy would never be the same. The end.